You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Well. Little Miss Dirty, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Considering my health is getting okay. I'm making progress on the channel and getting the word out, and I'm not going to sit here and complain about anything. So I'm going to chalk this one up as fantastic.
Did you hear Paula won her lawsuit?
Well, yeah, I did. I did hear that, and I think it's great that we have a victory in our corner. It's just that, you know, I don't think the Department of Corrections is really going to change anything. We need to hit them hard with a big settlement or judgment or fine. And these little things here and there, they're not hurting the department and they're not helping the victims. So we've got to get a handle on this.
It was 10 mil.
Yeah, yeah. I wish we would have had a larger judgment. It's just that you think about it. If a person commits a murder and then all he has to do is pay the victim's family and just continue on, it doesn't help. It doesn't deter crime, and it certainly doesn't motivate the person not to go out and commit more, especially if the person has a lot of money. So if a billionaire goes out, runs over a child, the family reports it, the person's convicted, and then sits in there and says, hey, what if I just give $10 million and we'll call it even? And if the family says, okay, and then the person says, okay, here's your check, I got to get back to work. What are we doing? What kind of message are we sending out there? I don't think anybody in the United States should be allowed to just make a payment and continue business as usual. Something like this should go to court, and the court should impose a high penalty. Maybe $100 million. This is a death. A person is dying because of their inability to follow procedure. And for them, just to get a slap on the wrist and continue business as usual, it doesn't work for me.
Are you fighting this?
And, well, yeah, I am working with other people. And in this particular case, I want to get a higher judgment. Let's go to court. And let's say that we're not looking for money to alleviate this problem. We're looking for change. We want to fix it so that it doesn't happen again. And when somebody goes to court, it seems to be just for the moment. And they're looking at that particular situation, that particular disability, negligence, all the stuff that pertains to that, which they should. But they're not looking at
You have 60 seconds
how
remaining.
to prevent it from happening to somebody else. And that's my main concern. I want to stop this from ever happening again.
I'm here for you.
Well, thanks. And, your support is always welcome. And it's always a pleasure to hear from you. And do you have any more information that you want to pass on about some of the people that you're living with in there? If you want to refer people
You have
toward
30
me,
seconds remaining.
go for it.
We appreciate you.
Oh, well, it's all in a day's work. And I can't do anything without somebody reporting it, my behind the scenes people, and just getting the word out, having platform to get it out. There's a lot involved in this, and you guys got to give yourself credit.
I'll do what I can.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for the call.
Thank you for using inmate call. Goodbye.
Hello, welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I'm your host, Joel Wilborn. And in this episode, I want to talk about my efforts as a prison reformist to help alleviate some of the problems that we're having in the state of Washington. My biggest concern in this state is the women's prison, and it's that the Washington Correction Center for Women. And so I had a friend back in 2009 who went to prison, and she was telling me about some of the stuff that was going on. Now, I've dealt with prison reform since 1989, and that's when I first learned about some of the terrible things that were going on in prison. And I just made it a point to start trying to fix it. And so it wasn't anything new that she was telling me was going on over there. It was just that there was nobody out there helping. There was nobody advocating in this state. I worked in the state of Tennessee, kind of took a break, and then came back again when I started hearing the stuff that was going on in the prison. So she started introducing me to people, and I was talking to folks and getting some inside scoop. Got to know some of the staff, got to know some of the families, and it just became an issue for me or a goal to fight this. Now, this friend introduced me to a young lady named Brittany Favre. And I got to know Brittany pretty well, and we started dating after a while. And then Brittany introduced me to Paula Gardner, who is the subject of my podcast today. Now, while I was meeting people, I would connect them to my e-messaging. So I had JPay, and my contact list just grew. And male, female, other, anybody, I didn't care. As long as they were introduced to me, and that got to be quite a bit. It was more like they knew two friends who knew two friends who knew two friends, and then I got well over 50 people. Well, the DOC assumed that because I had so many female contacts on there, that I was causing problems and I was preying on them. They didn't really read my emails. They didn't really talk to me. They didn't talk to the people that I knew. They were just making these assumptions. And so they started these investigations. They started blocking things. They started accusing me of stuff. And next thing you know, I was blocked from visiting and blocked from doing emails. And anybody who was associated with me would get some serious repercussions. So if anybody mentioned my name in an email, they could be blocked, or they would be called into the office and talked to. And that was just something I had to deal with. Oh well. Paula fortunately was able to call me. And so while I'm dealing with other issues and trying to get this department fixed, because it was definitely broken, we were able to develop a rapport. And then I found out she went to Yakima, and they sent her to the city of Yakima, put her in the county jail. And with them, I was going through Securus. I wasn't going through JPay as the email messaging. And so they weren't blocking my Securus, and they had no control over the jail. So I was able to do a video visit, and then that was just it right there. We saw each other. We were able to talk, and that was just it. We were able to develop a really close relationship. And then we found out that she had cancer. And that was a shocker to her friends that were in the prison, shocker to her family, and shock to me. And what became even more of a shocker is that she was scheduled to have pap smears, and she was a high risk of cervical cancer, and they knew that, the medical staff. And I don't know what the reason was why they decided to skip the pap smear, but it came out that since she went to Yakima, and that was where it was scheduled, the Department of Corrections told Yakima to do the pap smear, but it didn't come about. And it was the responsibility of the Department of Corrections, since Paula was under their care, to give her the proper testing and to maintain her health. You don't go into prison and come out worse than you went in health wise. That's not what this is all about. And that's one of the things I fight. And so she developed cancer because they weren't able to detect it early enough. Had they performed that particular test, there's a good possibility she could have been diagnosed earlier and the cancer could have been stopped. But that's not what happened. And so we had to deal with her and this new issue, this new problem, something that we didn't plan on. And so, I was trying to offer the best I could, but of course the DOC is fighting her and fighting me. She needed somebody to come visit her. I couldn't do that. We eventually became engaged, and I wanted to marry her, and then she was excited about it. We went through all of the process, and then it came up that she changed her mind. She didn't want to go through the problem of getting married in there. And I was arguing with her. This is crazy. And she said, "Well, you don't know what it's like in here." And they would call her in the office and told her that marrying me wasn't a good idea. And is she sure she wanted to do that? And she didn't want to go through them causing any more problems. And she certainly didn't need the stress. And so we agreed, well, we'll just wait. And that just fueled me even more. As a prison reformist, that's the kind of stuff I need. I need to see that. And we worked to get her out early because here she was diagnosed with cancer. She didn't need to be in there, and they weren't going to let me visit her anyway. And so I contacted the DA that put her in prison, but they didn't want to talk to me. Not because I wasn't a non-family member or anything, but because they just did not like Paula. And they felt that that's where she needed to be. And in order to get out, she needed to be on her deathbed. I talked with Paula and said, it looks like the doctor's the only one that's going to be able to get you out. And eventually, we were able to get to the physicians to speak with the Lincoln County DA's office, and we got her out early. So I went up to Lincoln County, picked her up at the jail, and on my way back, the police followed me out of the county. Matter of fact, they followed me straight into Spokane County before turning around and leaving. So I'm thinking they must still consider her a threat. Maybe they felt she was in danger because of the evil me. I don't know. But it was kind of odd that they would do that, but it didn't surprise me. That's just the way they work out here. And so, of course, with her being out, our main thing was to get her the care that she needed, get her settled in. She had to go to Tacoma because she wanted to keep her same doctor. And he was doing a very good job, and she really trusted him. And that's good. Everything I could do to help her be comfortable, I worked with her on that. And then we'd hope to take them to court, take the Washington Department of Corrections to court for their negligence. And I was hoping to use that to get the word out of what was going on and how people were being treated. I think if people go to court in a civil case and present what was going on and win, it could be something that maybe jurors would look back on. It comes time to sentencing, this person could go to the Washington Department of Corrections where they will not get proper medical care. We don't want to do that. We don't want to send them there for a long period of time. That was my hope, that people would see that, maybe judges would see that. And things don't always work out the way we want, you know. And so, just to give you an idea, we I was working with a family who lost a loved one. She was her name was Tina Stewart, and she was beat to death by her boyfriend Nicholas Holden. And they wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. The family did, and maybe get a registration, kind of like a one of those sex offender, so that a woman, if she gets on online and she's interested in dating somebody, let's say like Nicholas Holden, and she looks up that he had been convicted and sentenced to domestic violence and murder, that would give her a little something to look at. And people do deserve second chances, but they should know about it. And if the person doesn't have enough honor to tell his new girlfriend, I was convicted of murder for beating the person to death, then at least the person has an opportunity to look that up. And not everybody has that opportunity to look a history up. You know, when I met Paula, I looked up her history and I was able to find out quite a few things, but there's not everything on there. And it's nice to be able to have that to fall back on. Same thing with me. If somebody's dating me, they should be able to look up my information as well. And I like that kind of stuff being put out there. And I like the idea that the Department of Corrections should be held responsible for their actions. You know, what if Nicholas Holden had come up and said, you know, I feel bad that I killed her. Here's $3 million. Let's forget the whole thing, and then go on with his life. No, he was put in prison. But the DOC, that's a whole different thing. Now, if you live next to a prison, there's a possibility prisoners of war are in there. There was an incident where some prisoners of war, and it could be like Hamas, let's say, and they beat up a veteran. And of course, they're paying money. Oh, here, be quiet. And throwing money at everybody doesn't fix the situation. And I think we need to do a little bit more than that. And so, what I'm pushing for, and maybe to hold the DA responsible, because the DA put this person in prison and would not let her out unless she was dying. And that could have made our job a little easier, especially since I'm blocked from everything. But all it did is just slow us down. And they need to do more than pay out. Now, with the case of Paula, she was able to settle out of court for $9.9 million. That that didn't sit well with me, because now they just want to forget about it. But I'm not. I'm going to keep this issue out there. She fought really hard to win this case. She fought really hard to make this issue known. And for them just to settle, and, you know, the Department of Corrections is still going on. They're still bringing in prisoners of war. They're still smuggling in drugs. And they're still neglecting people's health. And there are several people, and I put the word out too. Anybody who is suffering from some major physical issues should be well cared for. If you're going to send a person to prison, make sure they have the proper medical care. That's a right that they have. You may not like what they do, and you know the DA didn't like the way Paula conducted herself in court, the crimes that she committed, but sentencing her to death is no, she didn't do anything for that. And what I want to do is let folks know that the Department of Corrections, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there. Just recently in the news, the federal prison system was was actually, we'll say, examined, and some information got out about things that were going on in there. And in there, a lot of the prisoners, they know when a person is convicted and goes to the prison, the prisoners are informed of what's going on, and then certain gangs and certain organizations within the prison can either make or break this person. If the person goes in there, kind of like Nicholas Holden, if he went to federal prison, they would know what he did. And if anybody in there didn't like somebody that beats girls, wives, husband, whatever, they could have that person killed or set it up so that this person looks like there was suicide, and the staff wouldn't do anything. The worst people in there are the people that are in there for life because they've got nothing to lose. Now, imagine a loved one of yours going to this prison and being subjected to all that. And the prison, all they have to do is just pay some money and continue on. We got to stop that. If you're going to put a person in prison, they need to deserve to be there. Serial killers, domestic violence, murderers that kill indiscriminately. They even when I talk to people in the prison, they're saying there's people that should be in there. And I know I was on the Kevin Coe trial, and they wanted to let him out after serving 25 years. And I thought, well, he served his time, he needs to get out. But after listening to the testimony and watching him, it's more like, yeah, he needs to be in there. It was hard to make that decision, but yeah, he needed to be in there. And we don't want him to die from cancer and then get $25 million. Why? Why do that? How's that going to help anybody? Isn't it better just not to have it happen in the first place, to have them follow the rules? Now, one of the things they're saying that they're blocking me for is because I don't follow their policy. I'm not sure where that came from, but that's what they say. I don't follow their policy. Well, guess what? You paid out $9.9 million for not following policy, and you have the nerve to restrict me from visiting and sending emails and condemning people for talking to me just because I don't follow this policy. And I haven't been able to get, because when visitation has a policy, and I've been visiting for years, I visited Brittany for years, had no problem with it until they decided to create something new. And then they start blocking me. Well, I can fight that. And, eventually I can probably pull up my own case. But for these guys to neglect the person who now is going to die, if she hadn't gone to prison, I'm pretty sure they would have detected this during her regular visit and she wouldn't have skipped it. She's not the kind of person that says, I don't need to do my pap smear. She would have gone in. And if she didn't, then it will all be on her. She would have nobody to blame but herself. But now she had somebody to blame and she won. I just wish it had been a little more public, and I wish they would have been ordered to do a little bit more than just pay out money. That's our money. That's our taxpayer money. So I'm hoping we can get the word out. I'm hoping you guys can contact attorneys if you have a loved one that's locked up. There's a good possibility this person will not come out. Suicides aren't always suicides. Murders aren't always murders. And there's things getting in the prison that scare me. I got a call from a prison that had smuggled in a cell phone. And, she's able to send pictures and she's able to talk to me because she has a cell phone that was smuggled in. And when I tell people about things that I discover, when I discover a person who's smuggling in drugs, I'll tell them. And a lot of times they get caught and it makes the news. I'm happy. That's something I did when I was in law enforcement. I don't have any shame whatsoever in ratting people out, especially when they're harming the people that's in there. And there's people that are talking to me that we're doing interviews that are naming folks and they're telling people about it. There was one person, he was in a cell, and they put his sister's rapist in a cell with him. And he went out and he told the officials, I don't want to be in the cell with this person. He raped my sister. Well, he wound up beating her to death. And then the DOC was able to get off on any charges because they said, well, we didn't know because the names were different. We didn't detect that at the time we did it. And, he was saying they set me up. And I believe it. He has a right to sue them for not following policy. It's just that the state was able to cover that up quite easily. But when you talk to the people, you get the inside story. And yeah, it definitely looks a little suspicious. And how they got off on that, I don't know. There's no charges. They walk free, and they can do it again. So maybe if your loved one or somebody that you know who has somebody in prison is put in a cell with a person who maybe the DOC doesn't like and knows that it will be provoked and this person will be killed. Yeah, that's not a good thing, and that's what I fight against. So there's a lot going on out there. Yeah, I don't expect you to like the people that are locked up, but remember, these folks go out into the community, and if they're traumatic, if there's a lot that they saw in there, they may come out worse, and they may hurt us. We have a chance to fix this. We have a chance to make this public, get the community involved, and make some changes. There are a few laws that are going out, and if we highly fine them for things like this, if we make more demands out of it, or what I really enjoy, if we just, instead of defunding the police, let's defund the penal system. Let's shut down some of these prisons. Watch how they will start taking care of the people that they have, how they will start appreciating their staff, how all these big lawsuits are going to make them pay more attention to the health needs of the people that are locked up. And the judges and jury will be less likely to lock people up, maybe do an alternative. There are other ways to make a person pay for their crime. People out in the community pay taxes, and they can pay back their victims. Right now, the Washington prisons, they're making about $1 an hour, and the things they want to buy are expensive. And so if they were to be paid minimum wage, that could be $100 million extra that the state has to pay. And when you have less people and you're paying them minimum wage for the jobs they do, where they can save up so that when they get out, they'll have a place to go and they'll have some money, and they'll be able to afford things to take care of themselves, and it shows them responsibility. When Brittany got out, she was saying, it was easy for me to buy and sell drugs. It's hard to have a job. It's hard to get it and to keep it. It's tough. But she's sticking with it. She's working. And so I continue to work with people that get out. I'm going to fight for the people that get in no matter what they do. And the DLC is going to keep fighting me. But I've got people out there. I've got friends. I've got family. I've got coworkers, associates. There are judges, attorneys, and then there are community leaders who want this fixed. And when somebody stands up to fight, they'll stand behind them. And hopefully you'll join that fight with us, because it does affect you. These taxes that you keep paying to pay off these people because they're beat up or dead, it's not worth it. We could use the money for something else. And when you pay your taxes and you feel bad about it, think about where that money's going. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Go out, make new friends, communicate, and have yourself a strong, productive communication, conversation, association with people out there. So Have a fantastic day and go out and make some fantastic memories for tomorrow. Thank you.